What's going on, everyone? We are back for another edition of the Bleed Los podcast, Carne, Asada. We have a jam-packed show. The Dodgers had highs and lows against the Mets and Guardians. A World Series rematch is coming to LA this weekend. And when can we expect some of our key pitchers back? All that and more coming up next. What's going on, everyone? I'm Drea. I am joined by Anthony and producer Roger. This episode is brought to you by DodgersBeat.com. Stay up to date and in the know with all of the latest and most comprehensive coverage of the Los Angeles Dodgers. It's your one stop for articles, interviews, contests, merch, and more. Never miss a beat and check out DodgersBeat.com. How are we doing, fellas? What's going on? How is everything in life?
We're doing good. It's good to come back from a long weekend. I know the Dodgers didn't play up to expectations, but everything's good over here.
Yeah, we're ready for a big series coming up this weekend that we'll definitely get into in a bit.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So we have the Yankees in town, so that's going to be a whole lot of fun because they're ready for some revenge on us from the World Series. So we're in for a treat, but we need to get into the last two series. This road trip, unfortunately, we ended up at 500. So we won and then we lost, and really what should have been a sweep for the Guardians game was not that. But we definitely have to talk before that happened. The Dodgers and the Mets. Did you guys catch that crazy 13-inning game? And then what followed was 2 losses. What did you think of that trip?
It's kind of how the Dodgers have been playing as of late, kind of highs and ups. It feels like we still haven't found a way to click it all together. Especially the Mets series, it feels like they kind of just. It's funny because we were messaging when Shohei went out there and threw his live BPO. Would they rest him, and what would the plan be? And he goes out there and hits a homer on his first AB basically, and I thought that was going to kind of catapult us to win that game, but we essentially didn't do anything afterwards. So it was kind of disappointing to kind of just see them roll over against the Mets. And the Mets are a good team. Mm-hmm. I think I forget who was pitching that third game, but it was their ace, right? Forget his name.
I know Robertson held us down. I want to say it was Canning to look at.
No, I think it was. I can't forget it. I forgot his name, but I know. At least from a standpoint, the Mets series is where I was going to gauge them on the road trip because that's someone that we'll probably face down the road. Whether it's in a week's time, we'll play them again here in LA. But I'm speaking more in October, so I was kind of left disappointed in the offense. I feel like our pitching did enough to kind of win those games. I was kind of impressed with Landon Knack. He kind of held it down for a while, but again, offense didn't help him at all. So that's what kind of left me disappointed, feeling kind of empty.
Yeah.
It was Kodai Senga on Sunday.
There we go.
Right.
And that was a game too. They had a chance in that first inning. It looked like they were kind of going to get to him, and then it kind of reminded me of the postseason matchup where he started the game, but he was coming back. He was coming back from injury, so he wasn't. It didn't seem like he was ready, and they got him early in that. He only lasted, I think, into the second inning in that postseason game. So I was kind of hoping that was going to happen in that Sunday game, but they didn't. They ended up scoring 1 run in that first, and then they kind of got shut down from there. But like Anthony was saying, they did look kind of, when you looked at that Mets series and then the Guardians series, kind of looked like 2 different teams. They came out much better on the first 2 games, even on the third game when they were losing, but they looked like a different team, kind of just more, at the plate, they were attacking, they were scoring runs. And then it seemed like in that Mets series, they kind of got shut down, prior to that first game that I thought at the end they were going to lose that. I mean, going to 13 innings, none of the teams were scoring in extras right there. The runner at second, none of them were scoring. And then Dodgers end up winning that game. But, some of those games they could have won either way. What kind of sucks is, like you said, is just kind of the timing of it, right? With the Dodgers, a lot of their pitching, their main guys are on the IL. So it's kind of, you got to do what you can do with the guys you got out there. And, they got to step it up. But overall, kind of, I think we were kind of talking, we're looking for 2 out of 3 there. If things kind of didn't go right. We kind of figured it might go the other way, 2 out of 3, and kind of ended up going. But they go ahead and 500 on this road trip, and coming back for another big series.
Yeah, no, it's actually their 18th comeback win. So that game that we watched, that was 13 innings. I think I must have given up about like 4 or 5 times. I'm like, and that's it. And the game is over, and it was not over. I was so pleasantly surprised and really thought they would at least take one more against the Mets following that game. But they were just, I think, when I was talking to you guys, I was talking to people here at my house. I was like, I think they were just listless. They just seemed like they were just going through the motions. It didn't seem like we were watching, the full power of the Dodgers. And it makes me wonder, are teams really beating us when they're beating us? Or are, we just not playing to our potential and they're just kind of, Dodgers are dialing it in? Because Dodgers at full strength, I really do feel are unbeatable, but I don't feel like we have really shown that enough this season. We are at exactly the 2-month mark. So we're 2 months into the season, and I don't feel like we're seeing the full strength of the Dodgers. I really think we're going to see that second half. At least I hope we are. But we're in for a pretty tough month. But one thing that got me about the Mets game, did you guys catch that obstruction call that was on Muncy?
Yeah.
I know we're going to talk about Muncy a lot, but that was very weird. Like, I've never seen that. I don't think like people were scratching their heads in the broadcast. What was up with that?
Oh well, to add on to that, there was also that fly ball that the 2 Mets outfielders like juggled and dropped, and Conforto moved over on that review. I never seen anything like that either.
Right.
Because at least growing up, you're told as long as you catch the ball, you're good. But I guess glove is part of body now too. The same with the Muncy play. That's also something I've never seen before. I guess you can argue he was in his way, but it's not like he was like blocking him and like going like, hey, 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 hey. He was kind of just standing right next to him. I don't see anything like the issue there. I guess obstruction, you're like obstructing his view, but like, again, it's not like Muncy was going like, hey, 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 like doing all sorts of stuff. He was kind of just standing there watching. So it's kind of weird.
I think it was weird. It was like, because it would be like intentional, right?
Yeah, I mean, and going back to that other play with the tag, I mean that one totally makes sense, because you're gonna tag when they catch the ball, right? It goes into the glove. Now you don't know if the ball is gonna pop out, right? So you're not gonna like wait there and then wait a couple more seconds, right, to see what happens with the ball. So once it hits that glove, you're good to go. So that's a correct call, obviously there. With that other call with the obstruction, I mean, I bet you if you go back and you look at every game that has a guy running from third, you're going to see that third baseman kind of in that line of vision, I guess, going to the outfielder. And it's just something that was like, why would he call that? It just made no sense. I saw a lot of commentary on it. Guys are like, absolutely wrong call. So it's one of those like, yeah, it's like weird, like why they called it, I don't know.
It was a strange game overall. I mean, I was really looking forward to the Kershaw start, and I remember he was dealing before he got taken out of the game due to rain that they knew was coming in. And I'm guessing it was because it was a national broadcast on ESPN. So maybe they just didn't really want to affect that. They really wanted to see how many innings they could get in. But I feel like we got a Kershaw start kind of like robbed of us. So, I mean, we've seen him again since, but I really was kind of disappointed because he was showing his stuff and he was looking good on that day. So at Kershaw right now, we have him he's had some strikeouts, so he's on his way to 3,000, maybe not as many as we would like, but do you think that he'll hit that this season? Do you think that, what is your kind of report card on Kershaw with the 3 outings we've seen so far?
I feel like it's been like slowly, steady progress. I've kind of liked what I've seen, especially the Mets. I know it was only 3 innings, but he looked pretty good. It looked like the vintage Kershaw. I just want to see him build up more. I feel like he's still he's treating this like his spring training, basically, kind of just building up. I don't want him like kind of like waste all his bullets now, and then like in September he has nothing left in the tank. So as far as for me, as long as he looks good, like the numbers are the numbers, but as long as he's throwing the ball well and he's effective, the curveball is still curveballing. I think I'm fine with that as long as he feels good. Going forward, I would probably be more nervous if he's asked to like pitch like in the playoffs, like if he's like a game 2 starter, because that means our guys didn't get healthy or like there was unforeseen injuries that happened. So that's kind of where I am with him. Like, I just want to see him finish out the season, and when we get to the playoffs, we'll see if he has a role or not, kind of deal. Because we do have a lot of good young arms. I know they're all hurt, but his experience kind of would be helpful in the roster situation.
Yeah, I agree. I'm excited to see him. Go ahead, Roger.
No, I was gonna say, yeah, I think it's still part of his build up, right? He's kind of like he had those starts in in AAA and all, but I think now he's up seeing big league guys and kind of it's still build up. Kind of you'd imagine probably like 4 or 5 starts, maybe some 20 innings under his belt, kind of see where he's at.
Right.
But that the first start was a little shaky. The second 2 innings he was going fine, and then even his last start, the first inning got a little kind of he had some traffic and ended up giving up just 1 run in that first inning, and then second I think he had a little bit of traffic too. But after that he pretty much settled in.
Yeah.
He went 5. So I mean, I think we've mentioned this before. I mean, it's kind of like that's kind of what you want to get from Kershaw right now. If he can give you 6 innings, right? 6 innings, a couple runs, you're going to take it, right? You're going to take that from Kershaw. You're not expecting him to go up and just, throw 98. He's going to throw, I think he's throwing 90, but he can still get outs. So that's kind of just what they need. They need somebody to get them outs. And right now it's someone that can get them innings, 6 innings, at least 6 innings. He went 5. I don't think he was happy with the 5, but he kind of said he wasn't on his game, so that's kind of all he got. And still early, like I said, but they need guys at least 6, 7 innings because we're seeing this 5-inning thing is kind of the norm. But you can't do that with this Dodgers team, with this rotation, with this bullpen that's so taxed. You got to get these guys in the 6th, 7th, and beyond if possible.
Yeah, it's just not sustainable. We can't keep going where you have, our starters out 4 or 5 innings, and every night we're seeing 4+ bullpen and relief staff. It's just not going to work because although I think, as we're going to get into Tanner Scott right now, the bullpen is taxed. His issue, at least in last night's game, where he gave up a 3rd save in, I think, out of those last 5 games, he had been somewhat rested. So this is more, I think, in his case, in this particular instance, a command or kind of a control issue. But overall, the bullpen, they won't last until the later part of the season if this keeps going on. So we definitely know, and I think the starters know, they need to really go the distance. But let's talk Tanner Scott, because the man's getting paid a lot, and he has been showing hasn't been showing us what we need to see. So what were your takes on him?
Yeah, well, having seen it live at the stadium when he gave up that homer to D-backs, I was kind of like initial concern, because I was like, I remember it's like, wait, this guy's been rested for a while. Like, why is he like struggling here? So I think it just might be a mechanical thing. Like, he's trying to figure something out. It's just brutal that it feels like it's all piling on him these past 2 weeks. But to start the season, he wasn't really that good either. So I don't know. I feel like he'll figure it out. But my issue is that at least from what Hasay said, I heard what he said, that he left without like kind of like facing the music.
Yeah.
I feel like that's something you have to do. Look, no one likes it to mess up at work. It's the honest to God truth. Like, it's the worst feeling ever. But I feel like it's a better thing to like kind of just face the music and tell people like, hey, look, like, I know I've sucked the past like week or 2, but like I'm trying to figure it out. Just kind of like ease the tensions a little bit. Just like tell people like, hey, you guys can like hammer me all you want, but like I know I'm like leaving like my fastball a little bit too high, stuff like that. It's something that's an easy fix. I might be struggling right now, but like hopefully I'll figure it out, and like when the game starts to matter more, these next 2 weeks against the competition we have, he'll probably be locked in. So that's the only issue I had with him, is kind of just like ducking the media. I feel like if he went out there and he kind of just showed face, it'd probably be a lot easier for me to like take him being bad right now.
I agree.
Yeah, and I remember the game that he blew at the stadium with the D-backs. He spoke that night and kind of just, he said, he just missed his spot, missed his locations. I mean, it's kind of been like the stuff is there sometimes, and then sometimes it's not. Like, I mean, when he came into the game, 3 pitches, right? And he struck that guy and made him look silly, right? Just
Yeah.
3 pitches, got out of that inning real quick, right? When he comes back for that next inning where he struggled. And I don't know. I heard something on I've been seeing this too, that they were saying that he's been throwing more strikes this year than normal. I guess his stuff is better, kind of like when it kind of just runs off the plate, right, and kind of like in that first at bat, kind of that. So when it's kind of landing in the strike zone, he's getting actually hit. So I don't know if it's something that they've worked on to kind of get him to throw more strikes, or kind of that's he's missing location. That's kind of where they're ending up. So that's kind of what they need to figure out. I mean, just because of how much they paid to sign him, to bring him in, what we saw of him in the playoffs, and then you're getting kind of this version of Tanner Scott right now early. It's not something you want to see. So they gotta correct that. But again, like we said, it's early. It's May. You rather this is happening now where he can fix it come October, because you don't want to see this happen in October, right? So you got to get this fixed now, get him good, get him situated, and then hopefully by the end of the season, he's rolling like he was, last season.
Yeah, no, even Shohei couldn't even hit him last season. I think we're paying him so that way, so he doesn't have to face Shohei. But I mean, that is a good chunk of money, and he does need to perform. And you make a good point, Anthony, about when you face the music, we can be very forgiving. In the moment, we'll be emotional as fans, but if to duck out and leave, yeah, we know he doesn't feel good about it. No one would expect him to. But hey, I'm going to really work on it. This matters. But we got to know that people care. When we know people care, we will stick with you. But it's kind of what the Mets are going through with Soto when he had that moment where he wasn't quite being upfront about his struggles. The fans tend to kind of go, hey, what are we paying you for if you can't, perform? So obviously we wish him well. He's a Dodger, and we're gonna back him. But that's a little bit of a little concern that I know many Dodger fans had this week. So hopefully he'll figure it out. The Dodgers will help him. But yeah, I'm concerned about pitching. I'm not going to lie. I try to be as positive as possible, and I am getting concerned. I'm seeing how little of it we have, especially for what it was going to be the toughest month as it continues on the rest of June. I don't know. Do we have to have tryouts? What do we got to do? Because I'm turning into that meme that's like with that cigarette every time I'm watching a game, and I don't want to feel this nervous. I didn't think I was going to feel this way for some of these games. But I know that the Dodgers are acting. We got, I think, a trade today. Am I right, Roger?
Yeah, they made a trade today for Alexis Díaz. The name kind of sounds familiar. He's actually the brother of the Mets closer, Edwin Díaz. So, yes. I mean, he was an all-star, 2 years ago? I mean, the guy's been solid.
Okay.
He's struggled this season. I think he's been up and down, from AAA and then up on the big club. But it's something. It looks like the Dodgers, they probably see something there that they might be able to correct. And we've seen them do this so many times. And if they can fix him, that's another arm to add into that bullpen. And hopefully things, because you're going to start getting some of these guys back. The unfortunate news is they put Evan Phillips on the 60-day IL because it doesn't look like things are getting better with him. A couple of days ago, Dave Robertson mentioned starting to get a little bit concerned that he hasn't picked up a ball. So we don't know what severity is going to be with Evan. So it looks like they made this trade for Diaz, and hopefully they kind of get him back on the right path as well.
Yeah. When Dave Roberts says he's concerned, I'm concerned, because usually he doesn't always come outright and say those kinds of things. So I'm a little bit scared that we might not see Evan Phillips for longer than, what we originally thought. But hopefully they get their pieces in place and it doesn't turn into another Craig Kimbrell situation, because we really do need our pitching staff intact. I think once they're back and we're operating on all cylinders, I know we're going to see the power that we were all expecting. But I think another set of guys are on their way back. Sheehan, if I'm not mistaken, Emmett Sheehan is coming soon. I think he's already been ramping up. From what I have seen, he faced 6 hitters the other day and he knocked them all out. So he's looking pretty good, but I think he was only 2 innings pitched. And then I think Edgardo or Enriquez is coming back fairly soon. So they're over in Las Vegas, if I'm not mistaken. I think they are going to be getting ready to join us, hopefully. hopefully in the next month. So that'll be fun. But one guy who has,
well, real quick, yeah, they're with OKC for rehab. So
Yep.
with Sheehan, I mean, he had Tommy John last year, but he's been on the fast track. So I mean, it looks like he's already been throwing, pitching, and he's that's going to be an arm that the Dodgers can definitely use in definitely that rotation if they have to, or in that bullpen. But it looks like he's coming pretty quick. So we'll see another month maybe. But he's one of those arms that's coming pretty quick. And then with Enriquez, he had that with foot injury in spring training. It was kind of something happened there, and then there was an update from Roberts about a week ago. He wasn't sure where he was at, but it looks like he's in a rehab as well in OKC. And so he's one of those guys that throws heat over 100. So we might see him, as reinforcements as well. But I mean, it's good news because you'd probably figure you're going to see those guys sooner than later. Some of the other guys, and we'll probably find out more tomorrow. Regarding like Glasnow and Snell, because I know Glasnow was supposed to throw a bullpen last week. He did that. Snell was supposed to be getting ready for that as well, and then even Rocky's supposed to start throwing soon. So those guys seem like they're going to be coming along, but a little bit further down the road.
That's great. That's good news because I know we also have our top dog Yamamoto, and he had another good outing. I believe he had 6 innings pitched, 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, and he got run support his last game, which I know he hasn't really been enjoying. But I'm curious, Anthony, what did you think about, what have you thought about, Yamamoto overall? What did you think of his last outing? I mean, he still looks like he is he's in the tree of trust still, as Dave Roberts.
Yeah.
So.
What I like to say is he's locked in. I feel like he's been locked in since the World Series. Going out there and just basically dominating throughout the World Series, I feel like gave him that extra confidence boost. Like I can perform at this stage, a game in May is I won't say meaningless, but the levels aren't as high as Game 2 of the World Series against the New York Yankees. So I've kind of just been left I don't want to say speechless, but some of the stuff he's doing, it doesn't remind me of who the guy he was last year. Because last year was kind of trying to find himself, and now I feel like he's found himself, and he's confident in who he is as a pitcher. I'm actually glad the offense finally gave him run support because I'm starting to call him Kershaw 2.0 because at least the early years of Kershaw, I felt like it was always a 1-0 game, and they scored in the 7th inning. And just gave Kershaw basically nothing. There was sometimes games where Kershaw won the game on himself, offensively. I remember that opening day against the Giants. I would actually love to see Yamamoto taking that bat, but I know that's not going to happen. But it'd be funny if for whatever reason they gave him that bat and he won the game for himself too. Kind of just go full circle basically. But yeah, man, this guy's nasty when he's throwing the ball. That's the best way to describe it. He's just nasty. He was so in the zone against the Guardians, and I was talking to my dad because his pitch count was relatively low.
It was very low.
Yeah, and he was like, "You think they're going to leave him out for 1 inning?" I'm like, "I don't think so," because they started to hit him well towards his last inning, and I'm like, "No, I think they're going to just play it safe and take him out here." And he got out the inning. So yeah, I have no words to describe his other than speechless and in awe basically of what he's doing.
Yeah, I mean he's the ace of the staff. He's kind of one of those guys now when he's going that day. Yeah, you kind of expect they're gonna win that game. They have a very high probability of winning that game because he's on the bump. I mean, just what he's doing. I mean, even if you had other guys back in that rotation, even if you had Snell in there, Glasnow, Yamamoto is the top guy right now, just with what he's doing. Last year, like you mentioned, that Yankees game, and then in the playoffs, is kind of where he's shown his best stuff, and kind of it took him a little while to get kind of situated with MLB. Kind of, the baseball is different. Kind of just getting his feet wet and getting that feel, and now it looks like he's totally comfortable. He's in there. He's ready, and he's doing stuff that he was doing in Japan. So, then they keep mentioning, oh, he's Cy Young front runner. That's all great. But just let him go out there, do his thing, and then we'll see where he is at the end of the year. If it's Cy Young, awesome, which it looks like he's trending that way. But let's just keep him healthy, get him out there, and just doing his thing, and just kind of just marvel at what he's doing out there each and every start.
No, I think health is key. That's what worries me. Maybe I thought that's why they were going to limit his pitch count or watch him extra close if he kind of makes any weird movements, because we can't really afford to lose him. He's our, the one like stable piece that we have. And of course, Casparius, I really think he's been showing us like what he's all about. And I looked at his Savant page and again, read and just wow. So I'm really impressed with those guys. And when they come out, I feel like I can breathe a little bit easier because I just can't imagine not having Yamamoto, at least for this next month, especially. I know they're going to really watch him close, but I know we need him. We've got a series of games coming up, as we've been mentioning, that are going to be very tough, and we're going to need his stability in the rotation. But one that probably we won't see before the All-Star break, but we're all looking forward to it. He had faced live batters, and we all saw the great footage of Shohei. What did you guys think of seeing his? I just love his reactions. Everyone turned out to kind of watch, and he looked good. He was touching 90, I think it was 97. So Shohei is showing some good stuff. What do you think of that?
I was like left in kind of shock. The movement on some of those pitches was just outright like filthy. It reminded me of Dustin May. Dustin May has kind of that same like nasty movement on his pitches as well. And I would have thought he would be out there, Shohei being a serious guy and like kind of, well, I know he took it seriously, but like you can tell he was also like having fun with it. Yes. Like especially, I forget who he struck out, but then he did that like whole motion, like basically like the strike three motion. So you can tell he's in a good mood and he's probably feeling good about himself. So I'm kind of excited to see like what the next step is, like whether he's going to keep facing live batters, et cetera, et cetera. I know he faced Dalton Rushing, and I forget who else. I think it was maybe Muncy, someone else, but yeah, it's
that's on Kim and then a coach.
Oh, okay.
One of the Dodgers coaches.
His son Kim got a hit, right?
I believe it was him.
He got the hit,
like a double. They said, yeah.
But it was actually cool to see like the entire like just the team basically out there just watching. And like I know because they like to get ready and like they have the routines, but like if Shohei's out there kind of just facing live batters, like I'd put the routine to the side and like be a fan for a moment and just go watch.
So cool. I mean, if you saw behind the cage, you saw Kike sitting down there, kind of looking in there. They were all looking, seeing what Shohei, and he was actually only supposed to. He said he was only supposed to maybe throw 94, 95, but he got a little bit amped up and he hit like 97. Mm-hmm. So, that's, it's, I think he went like 27 pitches
around there
in that neighborhood. Mm-hmm. So for his first one, and it sounds like this will be a weekly thing. So next one should probably be this Saturday, if all goes according to plan.
Okay.
So we'll see if they do it there when media's in, and we'll get footage of that and see how that next one goes. But and they were asking, we mentioned this last week, is how are they going to do this build up? Right?
Yes.
If he did 27 pitches, 28 pitches, okay, one inning. Do you sit him down, bring him back up for a second inning, sit him down again, kind of do that whole build up like that? And then is he gonna play in that game? What's he gonna do when he's up to like 70, 75 pitches, right? 5 innings, and then does he play in that game? Like, how are they gonna manage that? That's what's gonna be interesting to see. I don't know how the Angels did it, or how they worked around that when he was coming back. But that's what's going to be interesting to see, is how they manage that, having him throw 75 pitches prior to a game, and then he goes out there and plays that game.
Yeah. Well, the Angels have never really been as competitive as the Dodgers, so they probably didn't have to watch. Maybe I don't know, because I'm not in their heads, but the Dodgers are, we're World Series or bust. So they have to make sure that, and I know they know this, they're going to watch Shohei super close to make sure, how do you feel, head to toe. And I was concerned about that too. Like, how's he going to feel the next day? And then he goes to do 2 leadoff home runs in back-to-back games right after. And I'm like, okay, well, it's Shohei. And he does things that nobody else can do. And so I'm excited. I know there's a big debate on, should we even let Shohei pitch? I mean, what if he gets hurt? But the truth is, you saw how happy he was. Shohei is going to pitch because Shohei wants to pitch. And that's what the Dodgers made sure that they let him know, that they're in full support of that. So it's going to happen this year. But I also don't think they're going to rush it into June. So I think we're going to see it. I'm thinking maybe late July, August is when we're going to see the first game from Shohei. That's what I guess. But
Yeah.
he's being designed for post. So that's going to be the best. I cannot wait for that.
If I had to put money on it, I'd probably say like early August, probably.
Okay.
Give him, I mean, what, you might have 4 or 5 starts that month, 4 or 5 starts September.
Okay.
Yeah.
10 starts going into the postseason, somewhere around there.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of seems reasonable and kind of cautious still.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's kind of where they're kind of planning.
Yeah, and he'll still get his 20 innings. I believe he has to pitch in order to be a two-way player for next season. So I think it's all being timed perfectly for that, and to make sure they keep him as healthy as possible, and to make sure we see him in as many games batting as possible, because that's what we all look forward to. It's a Shohei effect. Even for other stadiums, you see that these the other fan bases, they're there watching with their cameras. I always like to peek in the background. They're there to see Shohei too. So when they're on the road, it's just a must see. And I'm very excited because he's having an even better season than he had last year at this time. So looking at the numbers, he's 20 home runs right now. So he's leading MLB in first place. And at this exact time last year, he had 13 home runs. So he is on pace for even more than he was last year, even at 11 stolen bases. So he's exactly where he is last year. He's stolen 11 bases. His batting average is slightly lower. He's at 292. But we know he's going to be in the 300s. That's no doubt about that as we go on a little bit further. But 35 RBIs and a 1.042 OPS. I mean, the man is amazing. I'm just so glad we have him and no one else. So Shohei doing Shohei things, but very exciting. But I do think they're on the pitching, just to kind of put a bow on that whole thing. We do have another pitcher. I don't think we've seen him pitch yet. His name is, Roger, help me out, Chris Stratton. Is that right? And
Chris Stratton.
Yes.
They picked him up.
What do we know about him?
DFA'd, right? DFA'd from the Royals.
Yeah, I don't know too much.
Picked him up. So
Okay.
we haven't seen him. We haven't seen him get into a game. So we're gonna wait for, Dodgers need bullpen arms. Kind of, we saw when they brought up Bobby Miller, came in one game, pitched.
Yeah.
He did some relief work, and then the next day he was back out. So, with the way this bullpen has been used, they kind of need these arms, and we're seeing a rotation of different arms kind of coming in for a 1-game stint, and then they might be gone. So it would be interesting to see when we see Stratton in a game. Probably, I would assume, probably in this Yankee series.
Yeah. This is going to be a big weekend, because I think the Dodgers know that the Yankees are in town and they're out for blood. They want to show out, and they've been doing really, really good. So I kind of caught some games that they were playing in the last few weeks. I watched them. I know we're going to get into this in a little bit, but we have Chris Taylor is now on the Angels. So we're going to talk a little bit about him, but they played the Yankees in this past series, and the Yankees, they were fun to watch if you're a Yankees fan. And I think that if you're in their chats and their comments, they're really saying, okay, we're ready. We're going to come out the Dodgers. And, they really they expect to do well. So if you're going to the stadium this weekend, I think you're going to be in for a show. So that's going to be exciting. And the Dodgers they're ready. I believe they're going to have something new I saw online today. They have that big kind of tall glass that they have where they put the margaritas, and they have the Not Like Us. That was one of our themes from the World Series in that era. So they're going to have some key things around the stadium that are going to kind of remind them that we won the World Series. So that'll be kind of fun.
Yeah.
I don't know about anyone else, but I'm going to be glued to the television. I know, Roger, you're going to be going to the stadium, so you're going to have a really good time seeing there, feeling the energy there. But super duper fun. But what I am worried about is Muncie. I'm worried about our defense. So I'm going to kind of pivot there for a second. We did see some home runs, or we saw a home run from Conforto. So I know people were on him because they want to see him go next, but he's maybe buying himself a little bit more time. But I'm concerned about Muncie. I don't think that we're seeing the Muncie that we are used to seeing or what we were expecting to see. So what was your take on kind of like that error that also could have like turned the game around yesterday as well? What did you think about him?
So on that play, I think it was overall just a tough play. It took a really bad bounce on him. That there was an angle that was floating around on Twitter where you could see the way it takes the hit off the grass, and it takes such a nasty bounce on him. So I really hate to like pile on him, but I still feel like he should have probably made a play there. But like after I saw the angle more than like 2-3 times, I'm like, yeah, that's kind of just tough because all his momentum's going towards his right side and he has to like force his body back to the left. So I really hate kind of pinning him on that, but I feel like it's a constant theme. It's just his defense overall. It's not just that one play. Like if it was just that one play, I'd be like, oh yeah, just shake it off. Bad bounce on him. Let's just go from there. But I feel like his defense just throughout the whole season has been pretty bad. So I don't know if it's just like an age thing, like he's getting up there in the age and like he doesn't have those young nimble reflexes anymore. Or it's just a mental thing now. Like he's just in his own head now. So I don't know if it's just a thing where he kind of just needs to take a couple of days off, or his defense is just going to be awful for the rest of the season. So I'm hoping it's kind of just more of a mental thing. Like he gets it out of his system quick in here, and like he'll be back to the normal Max Muncy of old.
I think so.
Yeah, I think it could be a little bit of both. You know, I mean, he spoke about it. You know, he knows his defense hasn't been great, but you know, he mentioned, you know, he's working on that every day. And it's true. You go out there early every day. He's out there working at third. He's taking grounders. He's working on it. So it's something that he's trying to improve. But too, yeah, then like you said, you know, obviously age is going to affect different guys different ways, and you know, you're going to be slower reflexes, stuff like that. But also, it could be in his head too, right? I mean, he knows how he's had trouble at third base. So when a ball comes, you don't think that's kind of in the back of his mind, like, yeah, I got to make this play, right? And then, you know, things happen from there. So, you know, he's working on it, but you know, how much is it going to go? You know, is it going to cost when it starts costing them games?
Yeah.
You really got to look at it and see what your options are. And I don't know if there'd be an option where they'd move them, or how would they move them around, you know, give them days off. So all those things, you know, are things that are going to have to, you know, they're going to start looking at, because, you know, we've seen this Dodgers team, they're all about winning. We could say, yeah, it's early, but we've seen them make those moves now early, getting rid of guys like Taylor, Barnes to make this team better. So we know kind of everything's on the table. You know, same thing with Conforto. We've been saying, you know, what are they going to do with Conforto, right? He hits a home run. The next day he actually sits, you know, after that home run.
Yeah.
So, but, you know, they're giving him that long leash, you know, but I still feel like they're going to give him a long leash, but I still feel he's probably going to get days off. You know, 1, 2, if he continues to struggle, they're going to start, you know, stringing those days off together. But I think they're going to give him probably a run until probably July. You know, right. You know, if they find a trade that's going to help this team for left field, that's where I'm assuming that's how long they'll let him go. Right. You know, to try and get back on track. So, you know, but you know, it's good for those guys to hit, because obviously if those guys hit, it's going to help this team, and you know, they're gonna get those W's. So, you know, we'll see going forward, kind of how those two situations play out.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you bring up a point about, you know, at the end of the day, this is like, it's a game. We all love it, but it also is a business, and they know what they got to do to make sure that they win. They want to win. They want to make sure that this isn't a joke. They're really going all in for, you know, to repeat and go for back-to-back World Series champions. And we're not exactly running away with the division right now. We've gotten lucky because on usually the nights that we're losing, the other NL West teams have been losing too. Yeah. So in a way, we kind of have been squeaking by, and some of it has been luck. and or else we would have been kind of dropping down farther. But we're I think a couple games up on, I want to say, the Padres, and then 2 games up on the Padres, 3 games up on the Giants. We're kind of a little bit of a comfortable distance away from the Diamondbacks, but you guys know that can change on a dime in this next month. And so we're okay. And the good news is, I looked at a stat that 75% of the teams that are in playoff contention on Memorial Day weekend, which just passed, tend to go on to the playoffs. So the likelihood of us going to the playoffs is high, but we also want to make sure that we try to get that, win the division, get in that 1 or 2 seed at least, so we can, have home field advantage and give us the best possible chances. We don't really, if we can avoid the wild card, I want to avoid the wild card. That has not been.
So do I.
Not been good for us. So hopefully that happens, but they did have to have tough conversations about those 2 guys we just mentioned, one of them being Taylor. And so I know I kind of just talked about him just a little bit, but now he's with the Angels. How do you feel about him being now a little bit of a crosstown rival?
I'm kind of happy for him. He doesn't have to go across country and like move his family elsewhere. He kind of stays local wherever he's living at. He just has to drive further down the freeway basically, but it gives him an opportunity to play every day. Another veteran presence for the Angels. I almost said dugout, but clubhouse. But yeah, I'm happy for him. The one that kind of has me surprised is Barnes. No one's given him like a shout out yet, or like a call yet. So that one kind of has me surprised. But I guess the market for backup catchers is kind of brutal right now. So we'll see. But yeah, at least with Taylor, he's been playing solid defense for the Angels, at least for the few plays I've seen here and there. But yeah, I'm just happy he's finally found a home.
Me too.
Yeah, I mean it's good for him to continue his career, right? He stays local with the Angels. I mean, totally, good for him. I don't get the hate on, even some people are still like pointing out, I think he finally got his first hit, and people are still pointing out, he went 0 for 3 or whatever. It's like I don't get the hate for that. I mean, yeah, he didn't have his best last couple of seasons. The guy did big things though, and here in LA, it's moved on, didn't work out now. He moved on to another team, and let him do his thing, see how things work out there for him. But it's good that he's on another team locally, for him and his family. And we'll see what happens with Chris Taylor. But speaking of Taylor, and I know we're gonna still talk a little bit about the Yankee series. Did you guys see that they asked him about some of the comments that he had made?
Yeah.
At the end of last season about the Yankees, kind of how they just kind of crapped on themselves, right? And that,
I love that he doubled down. Yeah.
Yeah, and they asked him any regrets, and he's like, no, I mean, I don't understand why there was such a big deal made about some of the things that the Dodgers said after that World Series. They said, we were told, if you hit it to them, they might not make the plays, right? Their defense is kind of shoddy, kind of all the things that happened, but they just said it out loud. And for whatever reason, some players took offensive to that, especially like the media, like the New York media. A lot of those guys took offense to that. And even today, I'm seeing that they're mad at Chris Taylor for saying that. It's like, why can't a player say this is what happened? And he even mentioned they would probably say the same thing. They would say, yeah, we were bad at XYZ, right? So I don't really see why it's still even an issue and kind of being brought up. It's like they played bad. Dodgers kind of exploited what they had, where the areas they had to do it. And it all came, they said, hey, hit it to them hit it to them basically, and let's see how they feel, right? Pretty much. And that's kind of how it played out. So I think it's such a non-issue, and I don't understand why it continues to be brought up.
I think it's just Dodger hate in general. It's like, Dodgers are held to a whole different standard in the league. And I mean, obviously, yes, we're at the top in a lot of ways, and I don't expect anyone to feel bad for us at all. So, we have first world problems, but when the Dodgers say something or do something, everyone's all up in arms. But then if it's a different player, different team, it's like, oh, okay, there's a lot more grace, I feel, with other teams if they were to do the exact same thing. But no, it's true. And the truth of the matter is they may not have liked it, but their fundamentals have cleaned up so far in their series. I kind of, like I told you, I was watching some Yankees games. They have Bellinger over there. I love watching Bellinger. I mean, I'll always support former Dodgers unless they're playing the Dodgers. But they played clean baseball against the Angels, and the Angels are not to be, like squawked at. They're good. They have Ron a winning streak for a while. I love Ron Washington. I love their manager. I don't love Artie Moreno, but I love some things about it. I like Mike Trout a lot. He's coming back. I think he got activated today. So, and then of course Taylor's with Kenley Jansen, right? He's one of their bullpen pieces. So it's not the worst move that could have happened in Chris Taylor's life. I think he'll be very happy. But the Dodgers will never live down the chatter that they said on Mookie's podcast.
Yeah, but I think I'm also of the belief, like, if you win it all, you have every right to talk as much smack as you can.
That's right.
Like if the Yankees had beat us. The Yankees had beat us in that World Series. They had every right to like talk as much smack as they wanted to. It's kind of the right you get given as a champion.
For a year.
Yes. Yeah, basically for the whole year. And then like you turn the page game one of pitchers and catchers reporting, basically. So yeah, I don't know why they were so upset about it.
And you still get the, I've seen people saying like, oh, we had game one, we were going to win that game on the road. We were going to win that game. It's like, okay, but what happened? Kind of like when we were talking about stats, like, oh, he's supposed to have a batting average of like
expected
600 on that hit, but that's not what happened. Like what happened is Cortez went out there and gave up a grand slam to Freddie Freeman, and the Dodgers ended up walking that game off. That's what happened. It's not like, oh, well, we could have won that game. Well, Dodgers could have won, game 4, right? They could have won game 4, right? Until, until they weren't winning, right? They could have swept that series, right? But they didn't, right? So they won in game 5. So
yeah, you don't get a fantasy ring for what could have or might have happened. Yeah, great. Enjoy your, like what could have, but that's not what happened. I find that odd too. Oh, very weird stuff. But yeah, Barnes, we don't know yet, but hopefully in the very near future, Barnes will land or get something that is, that'll make him and his family happy. Because although, they didn't really perform for us in the way that we would have liked in the first part of the season, they're always going to be, once a Dodger, always a Dodger, unless of course you're Machado and that's not.
Yeah, no, not with him.
But we love them, and we got to give grace. Baseball is a hard game to play. I think at the end of the day, we can all sit on our couches and we can watch and act like, oh, we should have done this and made that. This is a hard game, and these guys are amazing at what they do. So when they have setbacks or when they go through stuff,
I was gonna say Machado, right? Machado's in there. I think he's not playing no more as well as another guy, but I think another guy that falls into that category is Josh Reddick.
Oh my God, yeah.
Reddick, yeah, so he's one of those guys that he got his once a Dodger, always a Dodger license revoked. Yeah.
No.
What did he say about Yamamoto? Like, was he the one that had the comment about how do you pay a guy?
How do you pay a guy that's never pitched in the MLB all that money? So.
Well, he deserves all the hate he gets for the remaining, till the end of time. Because karma. Yamamoto's amazing. He shows it every day. So all that is, going to lead us nicely into just some really cool things that are coming up in Dodger world. There's collaborations, there's merch, there's really cool events coming up. Anthony, you kind of brought it to our attention that there's some really cool things that are happening in, Dodger merch world and all of that great stuff. So kind of give us the take. I think there's a collaboration, or there is a Kobe, the shoes, right?
Yeah.
That is released. So let us know about that. I think you have them, right?
Yeah, I have a pair right here. These are my brother's pair. He got them about on opening day, I want to say. They released them. I didn't get a pair, unfortunately, so I'm kind of jealous. But yeah, as we all know, Dodger fans or Laker fans, Kobe in general, we're kind of all like etched together. So these are a basketball shoe, quote unquote, but you can actually wear them day to day. You don't have to play basketball, and they're really, really comfortable. Some details on them has the little 8 right here. And then the stitching right here is like a baseball kind of right here.
Yeah. Wow.
But I love the royal blue. I love the white. It's a very clean, nice shoe. I've seen people at the stadiums when I go to the games, they're already wearing them. So that's a nice little collaboration. But it's not also just a shoe. They're going to be selling slides. They're going to be selling baseball equipment as well, and the Mamba jersey too. So there's like a bunch of stuff like dropping tomorrow essentially. So if you strike out on the shoes, you can hit gold or somewhere else. So the way you can enter these shoes, you're gonna need the Sneakers app. It's what it's called, SNKRS.
Okay.
And I would suggest you have your information ready to go like right now, because I've entered many of these drawings for just not these Kobe shoes, but like other shoes in general. And when they say 7 o'clock, they
They
mean
mean it.
7 o'clock. Yeah. 7:01, nope. 7:02, nope. I have a feeling this one's gonna be one of those enterings where you have to be on at 7 o'clock, and it'll kind of give you like 15 minutes, and like it'll give you like 15-minute notice, like, okay, you won the pair, or sorry, unfortunately, you did not win the pair. So it's basically just luck of the draw. I mean, I've been lucky enough where I've won a few pairs, but I've also like had my heart broken, basically, where I think I have it, and then like I'll check, and then be like, oh, sorry, unfortunately, Anthony, we're out of your size. So kind of like the luck of the draw. And then the other one I want to talk about is born and raised.
Yes.
They have a
Yes.
lot of cool Dodger gear, not just that's coming out soon, but like throughout the years. And you'll see it at the stadium. You see a lot of people wearing their kind of like their born and raised gear. It's kind of like streetwear, so you don't necessarily have to wear it to a Dodger game. I see people wearing it like outside of Dodger games, especially like outside of LA. Like I'll see people wearing them. I'm like, oh, hey, that's pretty cool. Like you're repping for Los Angeles here, so it can be a little bit pricey. A lot of their clothes is a lot of pricey, but their quality is very good. I have a born and raised hoodie, and I believe a T-shirt too. So I think I'm gonna try for another T-shirt and a hoodie if I can. But and all in all, it's gonna be a very expensive time these next couple days trying to buy all this stuff. So yeah, but I love it that they're like providing like a lot of opportunities for people to get new merchandise and stuff like that.
I mean, that's something that, again, that's what you brought that to my attention. And I kind of set my alarm like, okay, I'm going to have to get this and this and this. But the born and raised is going to be pretty dope. I think Kike was doing commercials
Yeah, he was.
And advertising. And so he's been busy off the field. We'll talk about that. But what time is the born and raised for people that are interested in getting that?
Ooh, that should be at noon. Let me double check here.
I believe it's also they're going to be available at the stadium tomorrow, right?
Stadium as well. So tomorrow, okay.
So noon tomorrow online, and then at the stadium, it should be there too as well.
Once the game starts, right? Or
Yeah,
I think it'll be prior to the game. Yeah,
it'll probably be at gates opening whenever the gates open. Like, so if you really want this stuff, I suggest probably
go run up,
get in and go in right away, because it's a hot commodity basically. Because you don't necessarily have to wear it at the Dodger game. Like I said, you can wear this anytime, anywhere. So noon tomorrow online, at least. I'll be trying tomorrow at noon.
Oh, how fun. So that's going to be exciting, because I know that a lot of people probably dropped a pretty penny to go to the Yankee game. So if they were already willing to spend, for the Yankee series, they're all in. So definitely get that merch, because that is like key to, LA. And of course, Kobe is a big part of LA and culture. So that's going to be a good day. And I also, this is all we're talking about, Kike. I think he did something with Kevin Hart. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. He was on, the show is called Cold as Balls. So it's basically 2 ice tubs full of water and ice. And you're basically, talking about whatever, basically. He's had one before with Mookie Betts a few years back. So this Kike one kind of caught me by surprise when it came onto my feed, but Kike being Kike, it was very funny because at one point they're kind of in the tub, and he has 2 security guys, and they're wearing the banana suit that he brought out like years ago, and they're kind of just like dancing around him. So, and he asked them like, "What's up with the bananas?" And he's like, "Baseball players are superstitious, and we kind of needed a win all those years back, and like he brought out just a regular banana, and we ended up winning the game, and it kind of stuck on." So like I'm like, yeah, baseball players are superstitious. Whatever it works, it works.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I think I laughed the entire time and watching that. So that was amazing. Kike can go toe to toe with any comedian, because he is just funny. Just when I hear his name, I just already start smiling, because I think he's just so great. So definitely check that out on Kevin Hart's Cold as Balls. But he's not the only one that's been, getting his acting chops on, or getting, getting off the field and doing some great things off. We have Blake Trinan and Anthony Bonda have been in a commercial for I think it's Chevrolet, right? And that's been posted.
The Camino Rio Chevrolet right there in Monterey Park, right off the 60. They've had former players in the past. They've had other players do stuff with them. I know James Outman was doing their Hansler Alberto from a couple years ago. But that dealership, if you go and look at their history, they've been working with Dodgers like since probably like the 60s. I read some stuff like Manny Mota, like guys back in the day that would go and get their cars from there. So now they have this great marketing campaign going on, and they have these players, and one of the first commercials they did is pretty funny, right? It has a Tio at the beginning, like, you know, the girl's coming back and she's saying, "Oh, let me go get the keys," and she comes back and he throws the sunflower seeds, and she's all like, "No, I didn't close the deal. It's just a test drive." And he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'll pick all this up." So some funny stuff. I mean, Trinan's in there, and, you know, Banda's in there. So, you know, they've been putting out, I think they did 3 already this week. So, you know, they're pretty funny, like little short, you know, little ads. So keep an eye on those.
Super fun. So yeah, I like seeing the Dodgers kind of show us their personalities off the field. So when I saw those, I thought, oh, how cute they are. And of course, I love Teo. He's one of my faves, and I love his sunflower seeds. There's some really good stuff happening, like coming up at the stadium too. I think it was announced, I think in the last 24 hours, they added a promotion night called One Piece Night. It's going to be on July 3rd. And I didn't even know what this was until I started looking into it. And then I realized this is a really big thing. It's a Japanese collaboration. And it's One Piece is, I guess, a popular Japanese manga, which is the Japanese word for comics. And we all know Shohei loves his comics. The guys have said that he, you know, looks through them all through his flights, and that's just something big in his life. And I guess so. It's a fave of Shohei, so that's probably one of the reasons why they collaborated. And created by Ishiro Oda. And I guess the first 40,000 fans on that day that come in are going to get a hat. And so I think, Anthony, you said you have kind of seen a little bit about this particular comic and what it's about. So I'm kind of very new to this in the last 24 hours. So do you know anything about kind of what the history of that is, or what it's like a little bit?
So your 24 hours, I'll match you with about like maybe a week or two of my knowledge.
You're ahead of me.
Yeah, because I have a lot of coworkers who have watched this show. You can actually watch it on Netflix, and they're like, "Oh, you probably like it. You like it. You like it." So I finally, about like 3 weeks ago, finally gave it a chance. So the premise of the show is basically the main character. His name is Luffy. He's a pirate. And the name One Piece is the name of the treasure. So he's after that treasure. So you're basically following along as he goes on and tries to find the perfect crew to help him. And the giveaway is actually a straw hat that he wears, that he was given to by a different pirate, kind of telling him to like kind of like pursue your dreams and stuff like that. So when I was in Japan as well, this was like very like popular and prominent. You'd see it basically everywhere, whether it was like small keychains, shoes, hats, etc., etc. So you'll name it. So I'm not surprised the Dodgers are having a One Piece night. Because I remember a few years ago the Rams had one too. So it's a very, very prominent, popular kind of deal. So it doesn't surprise me. So yeah, essentially it's a I don't want to say a cartoon, but it's an anime about a young kid who's trying to become a pirate, and he's after this treasure, basically.
Wow, that is.
And that's the giveaway that's the Dodgers doing. They're doing that straw hat.
Straw hat.
Yeah.
So yeah, that night we'll have it also will have a drone show, I believe, with the characters kind of like, you know, centered around the theme. And they're going to have something called activation zones around the stadium to kind of go with it. So whatever the, you know, premise of the whole, you know, comic is, there's going to be things happening throughout the stadium that kind of zone in on that theme. So, and that's just going back to the Japanese fan base. You know that when we go to the stadium, we see the fan base, we see that they come and they spend the money, they buy the merch, they're there, they're supporting, you know, Shohei, Yamamoto, Roki, and the whole entire team. And I read that this past week, LA Tourism and the New York Times reported that 80 to 90% of Japanese tourists book a Dodger game when they come to LA. So, and we already know that's because of Shohei. So Shohei is a moneymaker. He is why, you know, they paid him that money. Well, maybe not yet, they deferred it, but they're paying him that money, but he brings it back tenfold, I feel like, with all the things that he has given to us so far with them, with all these great events. So that's July 3rd. Definitely check that out. It's called One Piece Night. That should be a whole lot of fun. And so just really good stuff. I think that kind of just one thing that I also just wanted to bring up, because I think that this was more on the sentimental side, but I think something really awesome that our Dodgers are doing. We all know that Freddie Freeman in the last year dealt with his son having a neurological condition called Guillain-Barré syndrome. And that was Max, his little boy, who's doing a lot better. I keep up, and I think we all do, with all of, Chelsea Freeman and Freddie Freeman's posts. And he looks to be doing fantastic and on the road to a great recovery. And so Freddie and Chelsea Freeman donated $1 million to the Children's Hospital of Orange County. And they kind of acknowledged this week of how impactful they were in the lives of Max, and then what they saw, them doing as far as great stuff for all the children there. So amazing things that our Dodgers are doing off the field, and things that I think deserve to be, shout out and commended, because they're very, Freddie's amazing. They're all incredible people. So good on the Freemans for doing that. That's incredible. But that's it for me, aside from predictions, unless you guys have anything that you guys want to add into that.
No, I think we hit it all.
Yeah, it was a big night. So we have the Yankees this weekend, and I think it's followed by 4 Mets games. So I know we can't say sweep, although I know we hope for it. So what do we think we're going to see this weekend? How many games are we going to win against the Yankees? And before our next show, how many against the Mets?
Man, the Yankees have been on fire. They've won like 16 of the last 20. And just looking at the matchups, I really don't like our pitching matchups. We have Yamamoto going game 3.
They have Fried, right, going in?
Yeah.
He's been good.
I think the Yankees sneak us. I think they win the series. But then I think in the flip side, I think we get our revenge against the Mets. So I'm going to go. Unfortunately, I think the Yankees take 2 games and we get 1, but we win the series against the Mets 3-1. So what's that? 7 games. So I think we win 4 games out of 7.
Next 7 days, yeah. Okay. Raj?
Yeah, I mean, see, this is kind of what I don't like about the Yankees coming to town like this weekend, because I feel it's like, you can't make the excuses, right? But it's kind of Dodgers are short, right? They don't have the pitching matchups that they would normally have in this type of series. I wish that they were kind of both going at it full strength, kind of to really kind of get the best matchup possible. But yeah, I mean, you got Fried going tomorrow, and Fried's been fantastic for them, since he signed. He hasn't lost a game. He has a 1.29 ERA. So that's definitely going to be a tough matchup, with Dodgers are countering with Gonsolin. That second game, they got Will Warren. I don't know if he's a rookie or not, but that seems like a game that they can sneak out. The Knacks going, so that game's a toss up. If the Dodgers could win that game, then I feel good, right? Going into Sunday with Yamamoto. Going, so I feel they're gonna get 1, right? Yamamoto. So that I think that middle game is kind of the determining game, whether they're gonna win this series or they're gonna end up losing 2 out of 3. And then with the Mets thing, I'll go with Anthony. I think that the Dodgers playing at home, they'll get. I'll go 3 out of 4 on that one as well. But yeah, but that Yankees, I feel they can win 2 out of 3, even with how the rotation is. It's just that middle game. I think that's going to be the toss up. I think tomorrow might be a long night against Fried.
Oh yeah, I like Max Fried. If anything, I was kind of hoping we would consider him, but I know that was probably not on the table since we had got Snell so early. But Max Fried is an amazing pitcher, so I think that he's going to come out and show out. I might just kind of veer off a little bit. I'm going to just be hopeful, and we're going to take 2 out of 3 against the Yankees, and maybe split the series with the Mets. That's going to be my prediction, so I can be a little bit contrarian and see how I do on the standings. But yeah, I think that it's going to be fun no matter what. The New York teams are coming to town, so we're in for some good games. But just one last thing, I want to just kind of give a congratulations to our injured pitcher, River Ryan. He had a little boy in the last, I think it was May 25th, so in the last week, Luca Michael Ryan. So congratulations to to River Ryan and his wife on the birth of their son. But that's it. That's going to do it for us. So we're going to go ahead and just close out the show. If you want to find us, we have our handles beneath us. You can find me at Ravine Queen 1958 on Instagram. You can find Anthony on Instagram at Anthony Acosta _, and you can find Roger on X at Los Royers. Don't forget to check out DodgersBeat.com for all the latest news, post-game, pre-game interviews, everything that you could need to know about the Dodgers. You can find it at DodgersBeat.com. So until next time, go Dodgers.
Go Dodgers.